In Japan, in a lot of high schools, you're not allowed to have a job. And I didn't know that. So one time in high school, my host sister didn't come to school, but I did. And the teacher said, "Where is she today?" And in front of the whole class, I said, "She worked really late last night and she's really tired." And everybody looked at me like I had just snitched on her. And I think the teacher decided to do me a huge favor by saying, "I'm gonna pretend like I didn't hear that." But I'm pretty sure the other kids were like texting her under the table, like, "Guess what Micaela just did."
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, subscribing is the best way to support us. It helps us grow and bring you new stories from life in Japan. All right, let's jump in. Welcome to Unpacking Japan. I'm Toby, and today we are sitting in the studio with Micaela. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
You've been in Japan for 20 years.
I have.
Yeah, you've done so many things here, one of which is sharing some very interesting insights into life in Japan, specifically Kyushu on your YouTube channel and your blog, Fukuoka Eats. I think you are quite the
everything.
Foodie. So we have plenty of fun, interesting stories to dive into, some interesting perspectives for you to share for 20 years here. And maybe, like I like to do with all my guests, let's go back to the beginning. And what brought you here in the first place?
Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. Oh my goodness. I came to Japan when I was 17 years old. I was a high school exchange student. At the time, we had lots of exchange students coming to our high school in Canada. We actually had like a program where they would come for one entire school year. So every year since I entered high school, we would have Japanese students come for an entire year and then they would go back to Japan. Mm-hmm. But because Japanese wasn't an elective in our school, nobody from Canada, from our high school in Canada, was going to Japan. And there was a real opportunity there because if someone wanted to take that opportunity to study in Japan, they just had to ask about it. And nobody asked about it. In the 10th grade, they started teaching beginner Japanese in my high school. Mm-hmm. And I took the class. In grade 11, I was really enjoying it. I dropped French. I was supposed to be taking English and French. I'm a bad Canadian. I can't speak French at all. But I really enjoyed Japanese. And there was enough demand that by the 11th grade, we had a second year of Japanese in my high school. Mm-hmm. And around that time, I started looking into exchange programs. And my Japanese teacher was very supportive, and he was like, "I'll just reach out to some advisors and coordinators and see if there's anything we can set up for you." And by grade 12, I was in Miyazaki Prefecture in southern Japan and studying Japanese, like in Japan with Japanese people.
Did you have any specific interests in Japan, or what did it come through language and through the opportunity to study this in school?
Yeah, my friends, we would have lots of fun with the Japanese exchange students. Mm-hmm. We would teach them how to skip school. We would teach them that they didn't have to go to gym class. We could just walk to Tim Hortons and get, a snack. we could just leave for an hour and come back. And Canadian school is obviously completely different from the Japanese school system. So for these kids, it was always like a thrill. Some of us, like, in high school would get their driver's license or their learner's permit early, and they'd be like, "I have a car, like I can fit one person." I guess it wouldn't be a learner's, it would be like a new driver license, but they'd say like, "Someone can go in the car with me, let's go for a drive," and all this. And we really enjoyed kind of teaching them the Canadian teenager experience. And when those students would leave, they would leave a lot of their stuff behind, and they would give stuff away. So we would get like magazines, at the time, mini discs.
Cool.
Do you know what a mini disc is? Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 32.
Okay. Mini discs, yeah. Do you know what Walkmans are?
Yes. I'm not.
I don't know.
That young.
It feels
I'm
like.
from the generation that got to experience this growing up.
So they would leave like mini discs full of their favorite music. And they would be like, "Oh, here you go." And we would be like, "What is this? What is this? Let's listen to it." And it would be like Judy and Mary, or it would be X Japan, or it would be, just like a whole bunch of Japanese music that we somehow got exposed to because they would leave it behind. And we thought it was so cool. Me and my friends, we would listen to them and we're like, "Oh, this music is so different." We discovered Visual K, where people would just dress up, and wear makeup and do their hair. And because, do you know what? Did you have an emo phase?
An emo phase? No, I did not. More closer to listening to like punk rock, but not emo.
Yeah. So like, I think emo was big.
In France as well, there was a pretty big, especially coming from like influenced by the UK.
Yeah.
And during my high school years, there were quite a few that were like into that as well.
Yeah. So I think me and my friends were very emo. And I think I even had like black hair. I had short hair at one point, and we just like, we were very dark, but we loved the idea of visual kei. But we also liked really happy, like the hyper pop, like Japanese hyper pop music. We liked video games, obviously. We played a lot of Beat Mania, Dance Dance Revolution, Drum Mania at the arcade. We got really into a lot of Japanese related things. And so I think like that kind of came from the exchange students coming and leaving a bit of their culture with us every time they went back. And then we would just kind of get together and be like, oh, look, these candies, they've got strawberry with milk powder in them, or like, you know, these toffee things, they're like milk caramels, they're so good. And yeah, Japan was like really interesting to us because of that.
It's really cool because I feel like, especially on a high school level, having these very like cross-continental international exchange are rare, and then together
so
with
important.
Japan, so that led you in 12th grade, you mentioned,
12th,
to go to Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Was this a choice, or
no.
was this?
I said Japan. I said I would like to study abroad, and I would like to study abroad in Japan. Obviously, if you asked any teenager in the cohort that went with me, there was about, I think, 10 kids from across Canada that went at the same time. Everybody wanted to go to Tokyo. Everyone was like, Tokyo's my number one choice, because we didn't know anything. We didn't know really like what else there was in Japan. But none of us got assigned to Tokyo. And I got assigned to Miyazaki, and I thought, well, what's there to do in Miyazaki? And this was in 2005. I looked online and there was like no information. There was very little English information about what to do in Miyazaki for fun, like what kind of attractions there are. It was just like, just a very limited article that was like about the industries that thrive there or something. It wasn't like built to be a tourist destination at that time. And I don't think that there was a lot of English literature out there to like tell you what to expect, especially in Kyushu. So I arrived blind. I had no idea what to expect.
And you went straight to a local high school?
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
Very isolating. I think that was actually probably the hardest, one of the hardest challenges of my entire life, because in high school, we studied like level 1 Japanese. We could read hiragana, we could read katakana, and I could say, my name is Micaela, nice to meet you. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu type of thing. I could say, my hobby is tennis. I don't play tennis. I don't play any sports, but I would have a very limited, like, my hobby is basketball, tennis, I don't know, ice hockey or something. And you use all of that Japanese on day 1. Then you go to sleep, you wake up, it's day 2. You cannot introduce yourself again. Now you have to figure out what else there is to say. I couldn't say, at the time, I didn't know how to say I was hungry. I didn't know how to say like, onaka ga suita, or like, nodo ga kawaita, I'm thirsty. I had no idea how to like express my needs, and I had to learn from there. Like, that was kind of where I started in high school. And I think high school is kind of tough because it's the age where you want to socialize the most. You want to be able to tell people who you are. You want to have an identity, and you want to find
your emo phase.
Exactly. I want everyone to see my emo self. But like, without the words or like the tools to communicate with the people around you, it is so lonely. And I think that was probably like one of the loneliest times of my life. But it also pushed me really, really hard to learn the language as fast as I could. It pushed me to figure out that communication is more than language. Like, you can be a good person without speaking Japanese. You just have to show up and care about people. You know, if someone needs a seat on the train, you stand up. Or if your host parent needs help cleaning the kitchen, you get in there and you help. Like, it's not just about words, but it's about actions. Like, you can show people who you are in other ways. That was like a really cool and important thing to learn at such a young age.
You mentioned host parents. So
Yeah.
you stayed in a homestay for that year?
Yes.
Good experience?
Important experience. But I wouldn't necessarily say it was like great. And I think I can say that. I think I can say that. My host sister would agree. We didn't get along.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame her looking back now. I really encroached on her space. We shared a bedroom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I didn't speak Japanese. So she had to rely on her English skills to communicate with me. I don't think she really liked that I would make mistakes, or like there's things about Japanese culture I didn't understand yet. I would make just like, for example, in high school in Canada, it's very common to have a part-time job.
Oh, wow. Okay.
People start like working maybe around 14, 15. They'll work at McDonald's or like do their first job, and they're getting paid minimum wage, and they're like learning how to enter the job market. In Japan, in a lot of high schools, you're not allowed to have a job. And I didn't know that. So one time in high school, my host sister, who I share a room with, so I knew everything about her, didn't come to school, but I did. And the teacher said, where is she today? And in front of the whole class, I said, she worked really late last night and she's really tired. And everybody looked at me like I had just snitched on her. But to me, look at this reaction over here. It was like the biggest faux pas, right? Like, you're not supposed to tell the teacher, especially the homeroom teacher, that your host sister has a job and she's working. And you especially don't want to tell her, oh, she was working late at night and she got home late and now she's tired. Because I feel like in high school in Canada, we did not care. I didn't show up for the classes I didn't care about, and I passed. I graduated. It was fine. But in Japan, it was just such a different experience, and I didn't mean anything by it. And I think the teacher decided to do me a huge favor by saying, I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear that, because I know you didn't mean to do that. But I'm pretty sure like the other kids were like texting her under the table, like, guess what Micaela just did? Guess what Micaela? She just told the teacher. She's told the whole class.
That's difficult to kind of get back from that. And
but we get along now. We're fine.
You're still in touch?
Yeah, we keep in touch over online. She's living abroad as well now, and she has a child. So yeah, we're on friendly terms now. But I think that it's okay to admit that that was not an easy time for me, and also for her. I empathize with her situation because I had no idea what I was doing.
20 years later, you're still in Japan. So in that first year, there must have been some kind of a turning point that despite the challenges in the host family and at school, there was something that made you want to kind of stay or extend.
I think I enjoyed the discipline. Like, I really enjoyed the self-discipline that I put upon myself. And I enjoyed when I saw little bits of improvement in my life. Like, I could say more than I used to, or I could communicate. I started making friends. Gaining little bits of independence. And by the time I went back to Canada, I was bored. It was like just not the same. And it was like I worked really hard for this one goal only for it to end. And then I went back home where nothing really changed. And yeah, no, it just started to become an addiction where it was like, okay, well, I need to get back. I need to get back on that path because that path felt authentic to me, but it also made me feel good about myself. Like, it taught me how to be the best version of myself. And so I did whatever I could to go back. And as soon as I graduated, so I went back to Canada to graduate. I had to take exams and like officially graduate high school. And then in that summer, I applied for a working holiday. And then I came back to Kyushu to teach English for a year on a working holiday visa.
Before you went for the first time, you mentioned that all the kids from your cohort wanted to go to Tokyo. None of them got to Tokyo.
Yeah.
You ended up in Miyazaki. Did you consider going elsewhere and try something else? Or why go back to Kyushu specifically for the working holiday?
I really liked Kyushu. So I can tell you, I'm from Canada, and we discussed this just a minute ago, but Canada has lots of snow. It's very cold. It's very dark for a large part of the year. And for Canadians, there's like this akogare, like this, like Hawaii and like beaches, palm trees, sand, Hawaii, LA, like Mexico, like warm tropical places are just seen as a luxury to Canadians, or at least in my surrounding, like in my family, I guess. So when I arrived in Miyazaki after not knowing at all what to expect, we were flying into Miyazaki and we were passing through these palm trees. Like you could see them on the road, lining the road to the airport. And I'm going, wait, what? There's palm trees here. And then Miyazaki was known for surfing. There's like a big surf culture there. There's beaches. And when I arrived, I felt like I had stumbled upon like this hidden paradise that nobody knew about. And that was kind of the start of my Kyushu addiction. So after that, I wanted to be close to Miyazaki, but I wanted to try somewhere new. And that's how I ended up in Kumamoto Prefecture, which was the neighboring prefecture. And
so you went as an English teacher during your...
Yeah, I was about 18, 19 at the time.
How long did you do the teaching for?
Working holidays, just 1 year.
Is it an experience you enjoyed?
No. But it was a means to an end. Like, I think that it's a foot in the door. And I think that a lot of people might feel that way. It's a foot in the door and you do the job as best as you can. You come here, you get a place to live, you figure out how things work. And then if it's not for you, you figure out what your next step is while you're doing it, right? Some people will love English teaching and some people stay English teachers for years and they really thrive in that space. I was not one of those people. So from that moment, I think I was constantly looking to like expand or like get on to the next thing. So I didn't really teach English for too long.
So what was your idea of what you wanted to do here? You had an obsession for Japan, more specifically Kyushu. You wanted to stay there, English teaching, not your path. What did you kind of look for in terms of?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, so it was during my working holiday that I started my YouTube channel, which, oh my God, that must be like so many years ago.
We can go back and watch the very first few videos.
Please don't. I was just I don't know. I think it's hard to remember back then what I wanted to do. I don't think that at that time, like making YouTube videos,
it wasn't a thing, really.
No. First of all, there was no partner program. There was no monetizing. It was just like for fun. So I was doing that kind of for fun on the side.
I think you even mentioned somewhere that you started those videos as a way to keep your family informed of what you were up to down in Kyushu.
Yes, that's right. I did it to show them because still at the time there wasn't a lot of information about like Kumamoto or Miyazaki, and I wanted to show them what my like daily life was like. Plus, I listened to a lot of music. I've always really, really liked music. And so I was going through like a Bell and Sebastian stage. And I was like, I'm going to make a video, like, and I'm going to put this, like, my daily life in Kumamoto City against, like, a Bell and Sebastian song because it's just, I'm vibing. But that actually did really well. It was, like, one of my first videos, and it got, like, 20,000 views, which was huge at the time. Like, that was, because YouTube wasn't this huge platform yet. So 20,000 views was really, like, significant. And I was like, where are they coming from? I only have, like, one grandma. I've got two parents. Like, who are these other people that are watching these videos? But it was encouraging, so I continued to make them when I had time. But then at the same time, I was really just studying Japanese, and I was pursuing like a future where maybe I would be able to get a job in Japan. So my next step after working holiday was language school. And I went to language school for 2 years, and I just studied Japanese every day at that point. And then because the classes were only half a day, I could teach English after class to pay for rent and like make a living because students can work part-time. So I like actually managed to pay all of my school fees like out of pocket while I was working
That's
and
cool.
studying. So I've like never been in debt, which is really cool.
This is a big relief. I think many people are struggling with this sometimes.
Yeah. I think like I paid upfront for like the entry fee, and then everything else was installments. And even after that, I went to Senmon Gakko for music and entertainment. I know I'm skipping like way ahead here, but when I went to Senmon Gakko as well, I was able to pay my school fees in installments, and I was working, and then I would just pay them in installments without having to like take out any loans or owe anybody money. So that part of my life was kind of a blur, but it was like a hustle, and it felt meaningful, and it felt like I was constantly improving. So it was good.
Senmon Gakko is an interesting experience, I think. When I went to language school, I met a lot of students from neighboring countries to Japan that came to Japan to get that education. I've rarely met people that come from like Europe or Canada and are looking to study there. What was that experience like for you?
I loved it because after studying in language school where I was just with other language learners, it felt like the next natural step to like challenge myself in an environment where my classmates were now Japanese instead of other non-Japanese people. And I could speak Japanese with people my age in an environment where we all have shared interests. So everybody that was going to music school had an interest in music. And I really, really love music. I love pop music. I love music production. I love all the layers that go into creating like a song, you know, like, and I love the drums and the bass and the guitar and the vocals and the melodies, and I love the theory. So people in all the different courses, because there were people for each of these things. Like there was a drum course, there was a guitar course, there was a vocalist course, there was sound design course. Like everybody I talked to had similar interests, and we were all very passionate about music, but we all spoke Japanese. So for me, it was starting in high school and not being able to say anything, and then getting to this point where I was young, I was in my early 20s, I was surrounded by other boys and girls in their early 20s that love music, and we would rent out a live house and we'd all like play music together. It just felt like, I mean, it wasn't a super ambitious goal, but it was so much further along than I was when I first arrived. Like I had friends, I had people to talk to, I had places to go, I had people who knew who I was and like knew who I was, you know, like not, oh, that's Micaela, but oh, that's Micaela. She likes this music, or like she's really good at this. And, you know, she likes to wear bright colors, and, you know, like they know me, they know who I am. And that felt really significant. And that felt meaningful enough to me that for those 2 years, it was like a really fun, peaceful time.
How does this actually work? You mentioned that you had all these students with different passions and different interests, some drums, some productions, and they had all the different courses. Is it just one program that everyone kind of go through and you pick, or does this Senmon Gakko, this vocational school, have multiple programs for everyone's kind of specialty?
Yeah, they had multiple programs for each specialty, but then there are ways for everybody to come together for big projects. So like at the end of the year for like graduation ceremonies, the people that were in stage production would do the setup for the stage production. The people who were in choir would do like a song on stage, and then people who could play instruments, like they would make bands and they could perform as well. And there was always opportunities for people to shine when they wanted to shine. And then there was also a debut system. So if someone wanted to debut as a professional singer or as a professional artist, there would be scouts that would come.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
You could put yourself in the debut system, and they would train you to be like a pro musician, I guess. And for some kids, like that would lead to an invite to join an agency upon graduation. And some kids did. And I was really not really interested in becoming a musician by the end of it, because I had been working on my YouTube stuff, and my YouTube stuff kept growing. And somehow by the end of my 2 years, I had an offer to join a Japanese agency as like a video creator. And that was actually unheard of at the time, to like get an offer to be in an agency. And it was a pretty big agency as a video creator. Like they had just started like looking into online content and finding people and personalities. And I think I was the first to enter their agency like that. So it felt new and exciting, and it felt like the right path at the time.
So you started working for this agency as a video creator, so to say, slightly away from your music studies. Something completely new. You mentioned unheard of at the time.
Yeah.
What exactly did the role entail? What did you make videos about?
I think people who remember that time will remember. I cannot say specifically what the brand was, but it was obnoxiously apparent what that brand was. I partnered with a big brand through my agency, and we did webisodes for the brand's website. And it involved me having a Shiba Inu dog, puppy, and we walked around Japan, and like they would be these 1-2 minute videos where we would walk around in different parts of Japan. I'd be walking my Shiba and then like interacting with someone, and then at the end we would feature the product. And it was like a web series to go specifically on their website. But then they also wanted like sponsored content on my YouTube channel. And I think the entire time that I was doing this collaboration, I never really understood how to do it in a way that satisfied my individual, like my needs to express my individuality. And I think that viewers did understand that, like, but I also couldn't quit. It was also like my first experience with a contract that's like, you can't just say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore and not do it, because once you sign something, you're like signed on until both parties agree that it's okay to end. And yeah, like it was another learning experience in my life.
At what point then did you decide that, well, I can make videos, I already have an audience online, I can maybe try this by myself?
It took a few years, but that is because the way that the contracts work. And it's different now, because I think these days a lot of content creators are independent, or they work with an agency, contract by like job by job, instead of being completely dependent on that agency. So things are different now. But back then, like if you wanted a visa as like as an entertainer or something, you needed to be attached to an agency to get that visa. And there was a lot of incentive to get picked up by a big agency, even if the business side of the agency was like a little bit tricky to navigate. And because a lot of us in the beginning had never navigated that before, and there were no rules and there were no guidelines, I think it was pretty tricky. A lot of the agencies, how it would work is they would take a percentage of your earnings as like a referral fee. So even if a client wanted to pay you a certain amount of money, like your take home would be significantly less.
And then you still have to pay taxes.
Yeah, and you still have to pay taxes. And they'd often pay like a finder's fee to the agency. So I actually didn't know that they were taking like double, like they were taking from me and they were also taking from the client.
Oh.
So the amount of money that I thought people were paying to work with me was actually higher, which caused a lot of problems, because there were times where I wanted to do things with friends, but my agency would say no because the budget's too low. And I'd say, well, I want to do it. And they'd say, well, it's too low. We're not making any money off of it. You can't do that. But then they would pick up, like they would get a campaign for something that I didn't want to do. And they'd say, well, they're paying you this much. You got to do it. And it was so hard because I couldn't say no. There was one time, I think it's okay to say this, but one time they gave me a laptop and they wanted me to make a YouTube video about this laptop. Could you guess what was special about this laptop?
It had a touch screen.
No.
It, I don't know. It had a circle mouse pad that they typically have sometimes in these.
Sometimes. I don't think so. I don't think that was a feature. Can I tell you?
Yeah.
It was made for women.
How does it make it different? What exactly did
it had a
change?
DVD player so you can watch movies. And the keyboard was easy to type on, even if you had long nails.
Okay, I will take I will take that.
And they said I didn't even get to keep the computer. They sent it to me and they said, make a YouTube video about this amazing computer that's for women. And I said, I can't do that. That doesn't make women use normal computer. I use a normal computer. And they were like, but these are all the features. It's a gentle, like it's sturdy. It doesn't break. It's got a big screen. It's got a DVD player so you can watch movies. It's in like a rose gold. And the keyboard is so easy to type on. And you just have to show this. And I was thinking, how? I don't agree with this product.
I think that's the first time I ever heard of a laptop made for women.
It was, and I said I didn't want to do it. And
but the contract said you had to.
The contract said I had to.
So being with the agency, very restrictive for someone who wants to be creative.
Oh, yeah. I think it was a learning curve for everybody because they didn't really know what to do with me. I didn't know what my rights were. I also didn't know, when you sign a contract, I didn't really understand it. Like, I didn't understand what I was signing. I didn't understand the conditions in which I could quit. And so when I tried to quit, it wasn't that easy. And I also didn't have parents here. I was living alone, so I didn't really have anyone I could consult or someone who like had my back or, anyone like looking out for me. And I was operating mostly on like my own, like my own desires, my own like in the moment desires without really much foresight or like thought. And that came to bite me later on. But
how did you get out of that?
I just stopped making content for a bit. I had to, and I also had to agree to not join another agency. So by effectively, there was like always a risk that by ending my contract with this agency and not being allowed to join another one because there was like a non-compete, that I could have just like ended that era of my life entirely. But yeah, it was a good time to just kind of go back and figure out what I enjoyed, without having to worry about making money and make money in other ways.
One of the things you really enjoy is Kyushu.
Yes.
And you kind of, I think, became even like an official ambassador.
Yes.
Of Kyushu.
Yeah.
Was this something that came at a later date from you going back to doing something you enjoyed, or was this also kind of around?
No, that was also during the agency era. In some ways, being in an agency is good for business with Japanese companies that are very brand and image conscious because they can put more trust behind a creative who is in an agency and is like protected by, handled by a manager or has like people around them checking and making sure that they don't make any mistakes. So to get like really big jobs and a job as special and unique and important as working with Fukuoka City like I did, that needed to happen through an agency. I don't think it would have happened if I was not in an agency because I needed to be handled properly because it's such a tricky thing to navigate, like Japanese politics and then also like workspace politics, but also like actual politics because people were, upset that a foreigner was working for the city that the Japanese pay taxes for, and like I would get tweets on Twitter back when it was called Twitter and they'd be like, you're just a waste of my taxpayer money and stuff during that time. But it wasn't really anything I had control over. But like, it was just a very carefully handled job. And I was really, really lucky to have it. It was a lot of fun. And that kind of thing just doesn't come by very often. But it wouldn't have happened if I was on my own.
So that happened through the agency?
Yes.
What does it actually mean in practice, being a city ambassador and kind of working with them? You mentioned that because it's affiliated with the government and it's paid for by taxpayer money, there's a lot of structure around it, probably expectations too. What did you end up doing as an ambassador?
What did I end up doing as an ambassador? So because it was a government paid position, first of all, I wasn't making a lot of money. There was like a contract fee for the duration of the time that I was doing it, but I wasn't actually paid for my time in other ways. It meant that I did a lot of TV appearances at that time to just go on TV and be like, hi, I'm Micaela. I love Fukuoka. I'll tell you everything that's great about Fukuoka. I did some really cool variety shows with like talent, really like famous Japanese talent.
You got to do a lot of TV appearances.
Yeah, I did TV appearances. I also got to do the radio. I did local radio as well. It opened the door to like being a local talento, which is kind of like just the personality in the local Fukuoka area. And then eventually I ended up coming to Tokyo and doing a few like talento jobs here as well. So in Fukuoka, what that would mean is like for variety type of TV shows, when they sent people down to check out Fukuoka, like I would have a spot where I would like welcome them, or I would have dinner with them. I took Haruna Ai to a yatai.
Okay, by
so we
the
did,
river,
yeah,
the
and
food stalls.
for the longest time, for like over 10 years, there was a photo of me and Haruna Ai like just pasted on someone's yatai. And I would take my friends there and I'd be like, that's me and Haruna Ai. Hikawa Kiyoshi is a Enka singer. I met them. Very, very kind. I met Funashi. Do you know who Funashi is?
Oh, yes, the mascot.
Yeah, I met Funashi.
How much prep do you get before you go on TV? Because it's not an experience you had before, and suddenly you're under the spotlight, and there maybe sometimes even is a live audience and a kind of high expectations. These shows are quite dynamic, quite interactive, and very different from what maybe we are used to from variety shows in Canada. Or
yeah. So I can really only talk about my experience. But I think there's a difference between someone who enters the TV industry wanting to make their way up to like the top level talent, or like they have a goal. Whereas with me, it kind of came through the channels where I was already doing creative work. And I personally did not aim to really go too far on television, and I would just take offers as they came and just do my best. I would show up and do my best and hope that was enough. But television itself, there are people who are working very, very hard each time they are on TV, or they're given a spotlight, to take as much time as they can, like airtime, and make sure that they say the right thing every time, make sure that they look the best every time, and that they get a few lines that maybe make it to air. And it's a really like cutthroat industry.
So the way I imagine what you're just talking about is these variety shows usually have a host, maybe a host assistant,
Yes.
and then there's like a panel, and there's a topic of conversation, and people react or make comments.
Yes.
And so these people would kind of fight for the comments in a way
Yeah,
to
you want to get a good comment. You want to get a good comment. You want to be like centered on air. You want to get a point where, I think like for up and coming talent, the point of those shows, these big panels where they bring on a whole bunch of random guests, is you have a very limited amount of time to say something interesting that makes you stand out. And if you are able to like grab that spotlight multiple times and become memorable, then you can move up. But a lot of people will fall off and you'll never see them or hear from them again. And so there's a lot of tiers to like celebrity in Japan, but the turnover is so fast. There's people that are like up and coming, and then you just never hear from them again. So that industry is very strict. And I often felt like I struggled with that, because they would give me like a lot of feedback about all the things I was doing wrong. And
For example?
they said not to speak over someone else, which is probably something that would happen if I got too excited. I would be like, but blah, 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 blah. You know, like I would just talk over someone instead of letting them speak. And another thing would be like eye contact. Like make sure that you're always listening and smiling, because you don't know when the camera's going to be on you. So like everything someone says, you have to be like, and they could be just going on and on and on. And I remember I got in trouble for yawning once, because it was like hot lights and it was a really long shoot, and I was so tired, and I was like just trying so hard to like listen to someone talk, but I would just have to keep going like,
When the lights like just here are just like blasting on you, it kind of it gets very warm and it is.
Yeah, and then there was like a lot of hierarchy. So like you had to know who was above you, and you had to know how low you were on the tiers of like
the talento tiers.
Yeah, the talent tier. And I understand why Japan likes these systems, because you pay respect to the people who are doing better than you. You pay respect to like your elders, your senpai, and that's kind of the same in all types of situations like work and school as well. But it was really hard just being like taken around room to room to like do an aisatsu to someone and to like humble myself all the time. It was like I was always being reminded to humble myself and remember how small I am. And I wasn't someone who was there hungry enough to climb the ladder that I would do anything. So for me, television wasn't something I wanted to do long term, and it was something that I eventually said I'm not doing anymore.
What you wanted to do is promote the things you liked.
I just wanted to,
Fukuoka, Kyushu. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's great.
For people that are not too familiar with Kyushu, what are the things that you really like about it? And where do we even start? What is a good entry point into Kyushu?
This is a good question. I think Fukuoka is great as an anchor city because surrounding Fukuoka, there is so much diversity. You can go to Nagasaki from Fukuoka, and Nagasaki has like a Chinatown. It has like a lot of European influence. It also has, it's one of the locations of one of the atomic bombs, so it has a lot of history. They had to rebuild, and it's a very fascinating place that's completely unlike anywhere else. I really love Nagasaki. From Fukuoka, you can go down to Kumamoto or Mount Aso. You can see the volcano. You can see the caldera. You can see rock formations, rolling green hills, horses, cows, farmland. It's beautiful. You can go out to Amakusa in Kumamoto as well. And you can see dolphins. You can go to islands. There's blue water. It's gorgeous. The summer is very hot, but we've got beaches. We've got like really nice tropical areas with beautiful beaches and beautiful blue water, amazing fish. You can go down to Kagoshima, which is now all connected on the Shinkansen, but you can go to Kagoshima. There's Sakurajima, which is another active volcano that's quite often smoking in
I think
the
it just erupted a couple of weeks ago again.
It probably did.
Yeah.
It does that. We had a big earthquake in Aso a few weeks last week, actually, as well. Yeah, it's a very like active little island. But I really like Sakurajima in Kagoshima. And I like Kirishima, which is kind of up towards Miyazaki, coming from Kagoshima. And then Miyazaki, they've got Takachiho, which is such a famous power spot. A lot of tourists will go to Miyazaki now just to go to Takachiho. It's like this beautiful gorge.
Where you see the photo
with the boats. Yeah. So there's that. And then you go up to Oita and we've got onsen. We've got hot springs from all the geothermal activity and lots of natural hot springs. And it's a good place for relaxing. And this is just
basically just do a loop. Start in Fukuoka and do the loop.
I've done the whole loop except for Saga, because Saga is a little tricky. Saga, they've got a balloon festival. I'm sure there's other things, but poor Saga often gets overlooked because people just skip it and go straight to. You know what I like in Saga? There's a place called Furyu Onsen, and it's this little beautiful onsen town, and it's not very touristy. You can go there, and there's a whole bunch of old ryokan, like really old ryokan. They're not like fancy. You can stay the night for a relatively low cost and get like full room and board. You get your meals and everything. And it's just so picturesque. Like outside, there's a big river, there's greenery, there's fireflies, there's like stone bridges, and there's like no tourists.
What are the things about Kyushu that, from your perspective, make it different from other areas in Japan where people that come, especially from overseas, might find any place in Japan beautiful, but what makes Kyushu a little bit like, oh, actually, this is unique. I can't find this in Shikoku or Honshu or Hokkaido. Yeah,
that is a good question. I think, What Fukuoka feels like to me is a lifestyle city. I think Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto feel like spots that you would go as a beginner, like an entry-level foreigner. Like your first time in Japan, you would go to these spots and you would see different sides of Japan. Fukuoka city itself feels like a lifestyle city. If you were like, I want to see how the young people live, like where do they go drink coffee in the park? Or like what kind of fashion do they wear? Or what do they do on a weekend? Like Fukuoka doesn't necessarily have like a lot of tourism spots where you're like, oh, I'm in Fukuoka. There's like the reclining Buddha, there's Dazaifu, Tenmangu Shrine.
But it's got an atmosphere.
But those, it's more about the atmosphere. Like you just see what everyone's up to on the day to day. The thing that I love about Fukuoka that made me want to live there instead of Tokyo is that when you're in Tokyo, everybody is hustling. It feels like everybody's going somewhere and they're on a mission. They're like, I'm getting on the train, I'm going home, I'm going to work, I'm going to be late, I'm going to go to a meeting, I'm going to go see my friend. But like they're just hustling. You go to Fukuoka and people are kind of just wandering and they're like, where should I go now? Should I go to a cafe? This cafe looks nice. Let's go inside. Like they're more like dara dara shiteru. Like they're kind of just, they're going
with the flow.
Yeah. And the lower cost of living is significant because you don't need to make Tokyo salary to have a good life in Fukuoka. And you can have a nice apartment. You can live in the city. You can eat well, and you don't have to work and hustle and climb this ladder to success in order to make ends meet. But I feel like in Tokyo, everybody's stressed because they're trying so hard to just go on to the next thing so quickly. I think the thing that I find most appealing about Fukuoka is that you don't have to do that. And you can still have a really good life. And you have access to the mountains. You have access to the sea. You have access to really great fresh food. That's like the appeal of Kyushu to me.
So you've settled for Fukuoka, but you actually recently just moved. You spent quite a few years living in a more traditional house, 70-year-old house.
Yes.
It looked very charming, but you've decided to make a move and go to somewhere new.
Yes. So I recently moved, but I'm still actually in the center of Fukuoka City. This is something that actually people were surprised to find out about my old place. Was I lived in a house that was built in the 1950s for the past 5 years, but it was actually in central Fukuoka.
Oh, so it's not like a country house.
No.
Like a downtown house.
Well, it is a very historic house, and it's surrounded by high-rise mansions, and it's like an area that's gradually getting smaller right now because of all the development that's going on in the center of the city. So it is really sad to move in that sense. But in an age where everybody is trying to like get themselves an old Japanese house, is it okay if I like de-influence you a bit and talk about why we decided to leave ours?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, the bugs.
The bugs.
I don't know if you have them in Osaka, but in Kyushu we have huntsman spiders.
I have not seen a huntsman spider yet. So I live on the mountainside next to the trail. So I have got quite a few bugs as well.
Oh, so you're familiar.
But not huntsman spiders. They're more like small, or the Joro spiders, the yellow ones that have like the long legs.
The ones that, yeah.
At the moment, we have a lot of kamemushi and what are they called? Kamakiri?
The praying mantis.
Yeah, praying mantis.
Yeah, we got those too. So huntsmen, I am not even kidding. They're like the size of my hand. Like with the leg span included, they're about the size of my hand.
What you'd assume is living in Australia, but actually...
Yes, exactly. In Kyushu, we do have huntsman spiders. You probably wouldn't get one if you live in an apartment complex, but living in a house, especially an old house with lots of cracks, you will be going to the bathroom in the middle of the night and you'll have like your phone on as a flashlight and you flash the wall and there's just like one on the wall.
Like a horror movie.
Yeah. And the first year it would actually really upset me because I hated spiders. I think I'm a lot better with spiders now. But they're massive and they will always come into our house when it's humid. Mm-hmm. So rainy season, like winter, we don't see them so much. But when rainy season comes around, like May and the humidity just kind of starts to come up, they'll start coming into the house to like avoid the rain. And then you see them almost every day. And Japanese people think huntsmen are actually really good bugs. And this way of thinking helped me coexist with them for 5 years because they eat cockroaches and like they'll eat the bad bugs. So if you see one, they're actually your friend.
Just let them be.
Yep, just let them. But
when you're in the middle of the night in the toilet and it's in front of you on the door staring at you, I don't know if that's a sight you kind of want to have.
They're also so fast. So don't try to take one on because it doesn't, I would reach for one. You know, I'd think I need to get this, like, I don't know, shoo it away. And I would just move and they would just scuttle so fast that my heart rate would spike. And I would feel like, I don't know, if you don't like spiders, first of all, it is number 1, spiders. Number 2, mukade.
Okay.
Centipedes. They say that they travel in pairs. So if you see one, then you spend the rest of the day going, okay, where's the other one?
Oh, I never thought about that.
Oh, where's the other one?
Okay.
And if they bite, it hurts so bad. And they can hide in your shoes. They can hide in your blankets. I had one come out of the tiles in our bathroom when I was like washing my hair once in the bath. And it came out of the tiles. Like there was like a crack in the tiles. And it was like a horror movie. How about geji geji? Do you get geji geji?
What are geji geji?
They're kind of like centipedes, but they're like shorter and fat. And then they've got all the little legs. But they're harmless. I
know some that are like about the same length, but they have like these extremely long legs.
Oh,
and they're harmless. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, kind of. Like they're like the centipedes are long, but the geji geji are kind of like short and fat, but they still have like a hot like like
maybe they're
legs.
So these ones we have as well.
Yeah. So geji geji. We've also got like yamori, the little like lizards, but I really like those, so they're fine. They can stay.
So a lot of bugs. This is number 1
This is
reason.
number one. Number 2, lack of insulation. So winter is very, very cold. And summer is so hot. These houses that were built like 70 years ago were not built in today's climate. And especially like now with all the urban development, at least like where I live now, there's a lot more heat being generated in the city. And less airflow. So in the past, maybe you could open up all the windows and have like the wind
breeze,
go through and it would cool you down. But in recent years, it's just been so hot that our electric bill has it's shot up every winter and every summer because it's unlivable.
Because you have to have the heater on.
You have to have everything
times.
going all the time.
And Fukuoka is not even that cold in winter.
No. So, but our house is freezing. It was so freezing. We would use kerosene heaters because it was the only thing that would really effectively keep things warm. But then it's just blasting kerosene smoke. Another thing would be the garden. Now, I loved the idea of having a garden. But the summer months, the garden grows almost like overnight. Like the rate that green thrives in like the heat and humidity is just like, it's endless. Garden work. You just have to be like cutting trees, cutting the branches down, pruning things. You have to cut the lawn. And then there's mosquitoes everywhere. It's a lot of extra work. You've got paper doors, paper walls. Everything's fragile. You trip and fall and you're going to put a hole through the wall. We even had like a hole through one of our like actual walls, like a drywall, because we had like tripped and fallen and then accidentally like put a hole in the drywall because it was just so fragile. And we got to fix it. We will. We are going to fix it. We are going to fix it.
So if anyone is listening to all of this and is still wanting to get a house, they need to be ready for quite a lot of things.
It's like camping. I felt like for the past 5 years we were camping. And I also want to say, I want to make it clear that we loved our house experience. We loved the experience and the opportunity. And there were so many things that we did love about the way our house looked, the way the light hit the windows. We liked, the space, the extra space that we had in comparison to like an apartment. And we loved our neighbors. Our neighbors were such great people and they really made us feel welcome in our community. But there were things where after a while, we just thought, you know what, maybe an apartment would be better.
And so you made the decision to move into something with more concrete.
I think privacy. is the other thing. When you have a house and it's just the first floor,
Mm-hmm.
everybody walks up to your door to like talk to you. And
Like
they
salespeople.
Salespeople. We got a lot of religious pamphlets in English.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they would know which house was ours unless they specifically followed us like up the road. Like it wasn't obvious, but they found us. And it also made me wonder, well, if we're this easy to find and this easy to approach, like what happens when, who knows when we're not home?
Mm-hmm.
And like who knows when we are home? Like it just felt very accessible in comparison to like a mansion or like a Japanese mansion or an apartment where there's like layers of security.
Just for those that aren't familiar,
People could
mansion in Japan is like an apartment.
Yeah,
it's not like
not a mansion,
yeah.
like a Japanese mansion. Yeah. It. I feel like there's probably more.
But that's already kind of a pretty solid.
It did feel a lot like we were camping. It just felt like we were always cold, where there were always bugs, and there was always work that needed to be done. It rained too much. It rained too hard one season, and our roof leaked because a crow dropped a seed on a tile, and the tile broke. There's so much. You're like, like this is the stuff that happens. Like a bird could drop a seed on a tile on your roof, and the tile could crack, and then the next time it rains, you have water in your bathroom. Like that's a thing.
And then the mukade comes out.
Yeah, and the mukade come out.
So
there
you made a decision. You moved.
Yeah, we moved, and yeah, I mean it's warm. I'm not cold anymore.
Where does that leave you today? You've done like so many things over the last few years, from going to music school, working with an agency, being a city ambassador.
Yeah.
And throughout this time, you kind of continued making your own videos and kind of showcasing your love for Japan online. What are you working on today? Like, what are your current projects that you kind of...
Okay. So I think I have been on a journey of trial and error. Like my whole creative career in Japan. And I've come to a point where I value work-life balance a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And previously I was talking about Fukuoka and how you don't actually have to be hustling and making like a bank to have a good life. That means so much to me because I want to have time to enjoy my life. And I do feel like I am able to enjoy my life in Fukuoka right now. But that's also like where I'm at with like the content. I mean, we could talk about this for like another 2 hours or something. But I think that there was a time where I felt like I needed to please everybody. And I needed to keep performing. And I needed to keep seeing numbers. And I needed to do all this stuff to be successful. But after trying out a lot of things, I realized like my inner peace and like my own self-satisfaction is what makes me the happiest. So right now, what my life looks like is that every month I take maybe 1, 2, 3 jobs, and that's it. I spend a lot of time with my daughter, who was born 3 years ago, and she's growing so fast, and I love spending time with her. And sometimes I'm even lucky enough that I can take her around Japan with me. I'll get like offers to shoot family content, and they'll say, hey, you can bring her. And
cool.
It's awesome. It's awesome. We went to Tomamu in Hokkaido earlier this year in February, and we got to go skiing. I got to show her real snow, and she got a little snowsuit, and we went on the chairlifts, and she saw a real snowman. And that was like all really cool experiences that I could give her, because for so long I have been just making it work as like a digital creative, and stuff like that means a lot to me. So I pursue meaningful work now without the pressure to be successful, if that makes sense. That's like a balance that I'm trying to maintain.
You recently spoke out a little bit about like what does it mean to be a content creator in 2025, 2026, and how this changed from when you first started making your videos, as well as the expectations that now come with it.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us who started YouTube back before there was even money involved, it was a lot about, for us, it was about like reaching out and connecting and self-expression and sharing stories and just seeing who you resonate with and finding your people. And there was like a lot of authenticity in that era because there was no motivation. And now it feels like being authentic is the trick to making more money. And so people are like trying to game the system to make as much money as they can, and it's exhausting. Like we all are watching other people online, and we're kind of thinking like, can I trust what this person is saying? Like, can I trust this experience? Do I really want to see more of this person? And I feel like we're all dancing for attention.
Do you feel like it kind of resonates a little bit with what you were describing about the talento tiers, where
Yes.
everyone is kind of fighting for that attention, and you kind of go up the ladder of attention on social media until you drop off and you're never heard of again. And
Yes.
everyone seems to be aware of this, and therefore try to either stand out as much as possible or try to make the most money in the amount of time they have while they have a platform before an algorithm change, before trends change, before.
Absolutely. That's such a like really cool connection that you just made. And I do think there are multiple ways to go about being a content creator these days. And it's like either you're getting attention from the audience and you're getting like AdSense dollars, like you're surviving off of monetizing your content, or you're getting sponsorships, but you have to play it safe because brands won't put themselves behind someone who makes risky content. And both of them kind of threaten authenticity in different ways. Like you can be like, hey, I'm me, I'm authentic, I'm not sponsored by anyone, but I get 1 million views and I make AdSense money. But then when the views start to go, you go, hey, how do I get their attention back? How do I get their attention back?
You advertise a laptop for women?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, advertise a laptop for women. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do what I did. But then like when you are a brand sponsored person, you kind of struggle because the balance between being authentic and also being a clean spokesperson is so delicate that there are things that you can't say. And there's, political issues you can't talk about, or like come out, you can't really be like an activist. And although there are also celebrities who can prove that you can be an activist, you can advocate for things and still keep things going. That's not how it goes for like smaller.
You basically are
creatives.
somewhat stripped of publicly disclosing your opinions or your feelings about
it's
topics
really,
that
really
may matter to
tricky.
you.
And then I feel like as the viewer longs for something real. And it's so hard to find anything real when money is involved. And that whole thing, I think I haven't actually found like an answer to how I feel about all of that. So that's the post that I think you're referring to, is where I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable with how things are right now. I haven't really found a solution that feels good to me. But I also just see that there's two extremes. One is generating drama and interest for clicks and ad dollars, or, playing it safe and becoming a brand parrot. Both of these are obviously extremes. Like there's people who are doing a good job at these things in both, I don't know, areas, but it is a really tough balance to walk. And I think just for me right now, after doing so many different things, I'm really just happy to visit really interesting places in Japan, tell stories about it.
Take your family with you.
Take my family with me and like have a really peaceful time. And yeah, I feel like it's really quiet and like chill right now. So I'm happy with where I'm at, and I'm not like, how do I get more attention? How do I get more eyes on me? Because I'm lucky enough that I get to still do things after so many years. I still get to have all these opportunities as a storyteller, even without pandering,
If you look back at your 20 years here and starting from this first experience at the high school in Miyazaki, what are some of the big things that for you have changed here in Japan that you've seen over the last few years?
So I think having a daughter has been an interesting experience for me because it allows me to give her the experience of growing up in Japan and trying to foresee any sort of obstacles that she may come into being non-Japanese. And like having experienced complete isolation in high school, I really want to avoid that kind of trajectory for her. But I will say that in spite of all the political stuff that is going on online, like you will see so many people saying things about immigration and foreigners and should foreigners be in the same schools as Japanese. It sounds very regressive. It's so scary, like reading these things online. But I feel putting my daughter through daycare and like seeing her interact with other people and like seeing how the teachers handle her, like I feel like her experience in Japan is going to be completely different from the isolating experience that I had when I couldn't speak and I didn't know anybody and things were hard. I feel like people approach her with such warmness and openness. She is so outgoing. She has so many friends. And I think that this younger generation is going to be more multicultural and people will be more tolerant to multiculturalism. It just feels right now, because things are changing, that people who are uncomfortable with change are just a bit loud online.
And there's a lot of space to shout online.
Yes. And I think when I think about the community and the people that I've met during my time in Japan, and I think about all the support I've received from people who aren't even my blood relatives, like I don't have any family here, but I have a lot of friends. And I have a lot of people I've met throughout all these different journeys who have always supported me or have shown up for me in different ways or, you know, have always offered friendship. I don't actually think things are moving backwards. I think things are getting better, but you wouldn't know that if you were online because you feel just like, at the end of the day, it's about clicks. It's about what people are clicking into and what people are like paying attention to. And that's what makes the internet such a tricky thing to navigate these days. I think what I'm trying to say is that in spite of how things may sound like through the news or through social media, I think Japan is actually becoming more progressive. And I think that it's a better time even to be like a non-Japanese person in Japan because there are so many good people. Yeah.
20 years of journeys through Kyushu and beyond. Many encounters, many stories to share. I think we've only talked about a few of them.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember what we've covered.
Is there anything that was important to you that we didn't touch upon that you would have liked to maybe bring up today?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Well, Micaela, it was a pleasure having you and to hear your very interesting perspectives about your experiences in Japan, working on TV, working as a digital creator, promoting Kyushu very well. I definitely want to go and experience myself. For people who are interested, they can go and check out your YouTube channel. There will be plenty of interesting videos and your blog where they can find some tasty food recommendations as well.
I love that you know that. Yeah, no, I do love food. That was something we never talked about, but I do love food.
So any Kyushu dish that you would recommend maybe to wrap this up?
Oh, that's so hard.
Are the yatai worth it or are they overrated?
That's a spicy question. You can't ask that. You can't ask that at the end of the interview. That's like a spicy one. It depends on where you go, I think. I actually have to put out a yatai promotion video.
We'll see it soon then.
Yeah. No, I think yatai are an interesting experience, but they're not as local.
Hakata ramen.
I don't really like ramen that much. There is good ramen. I don't eat ramen that much. I really like goma saba, which is like saba. It's like a
with sesame.
Yeah, with the
saba is mackerel.
Yes, mackerel. The mackerel with sesame sauce. I really like chazuke. Let's see. Mentaiko is really good. I really like mentaiko tempura. If you can have it like battered. So it's like crunchy on the outside and then like salty on the inside.
Okay.
There's a place in Tenjin called Mentaiju where they do like kombu wrapped mentaiko. They do like this little bento box of mentaiko. So good. I like Kyushu. Motsunabe,
Mm-hmm.
love it or hate it, I love it. I think it's such a good winter dish because it's so chewy and like it's greasy but keeps you warm. Put some like fat on you. It's good. Yeah.
Things for people to try in Fukuoka, and they can find more recommendations on your site and videos, and maybe soon in the Yatai video that you're going to put out. And they can experience and make up their own opinions.
Yes, absolutely.
Micaela, thank you so much for coming all the way
you.
from Kyushu to talk to us. It was a pleasure. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. This was Unpacking Japan, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you for sticking with us all the way till the end. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the podcast. It helps us improve the show and bring you more in-depth conversations from Japan. Take care and see you next time.